Imagine you're trying to start a fire in the middle of a rainstorm. You have the wood, you have the matches, and you're striking them over and over. You get a spark, a tiny flicker of orange, and then, poof, it's gone. You're cold, you're frustrated, and you feel like the laws of physics are working against you. That is exactly what building your first $10,000 feels like. Most financial gurus love to talk about the magic of compounding. They show you graphs that look like a rocket ship taking off. But what they don't tell you is that for the first few years, that rocket ship isn't moving. It's just sitting on the launch pad, burning an incredible amount of fuel just to stay upright. There is an invisible wall at the start of the wealth journey. It's a zone where the math feels broken and your sacrifices feel insignificant. You skip the expensive dinners, you drive the car that makes a weird noise every time you turn left, and at the end of the month, you've saved maybe $300. You look at the market, and your $300 made $2 in interest. $2. Your brain immediately shouts, "Why am I doing this?" This is the valley of disappointment. It's the reason 90% of people quit before they ever reach the escape velocity of $100,000. They think they're doing it wrong, but the truth is, they're just fighting the heaviest gravity they will ever face. Today, I'm going to show you how to climb this invisible wall. We aren't going to talk about becoming a millionaire overnight. We're going to talk about the most brutal, most important, and most underrated milestone in your life, the first $10,000. Because once you have that, you don't just have money, you have a foundation that can actually grow. To understand why the first $10,000 feels like a scam, we have to look at the conflict between your brain and the math. Human beings are naturally wired for linear progress. If you walk for 2 hours, you expect to be twice as far as you were after 1 hour. Input equals output. But in wealth building, that rule is dead. Let's run a day zero experiment. You've just watched a video on compound interest, you're hyped, and you decide to save your first $1,000. It takes you 3 months of saying no to everything. No Netflix, no nights out, no new shoes. You finally get that $1,000 into a high-yield account or an index fund returning 7%. You wait a full year. You check your account expecting a transformation, and what do you see? You've made $70. Your brain does the math instantly. I sacrificed 3 months of my life for $70. That's not even a tank of gas. At this rate, I'll be 140 years old before I can retire. This is the math of misery. It's the period where your money is effectively a lazy passenger. In the beginning, you are the engine. If you want your net worth to grow by $1,000, you have to find $1,000 in your paycheck. Your investments are contributing less than 1% of the heavy lifting. This is why the first $10,000 is technically harder than the move from $100,000 to $200,000. When you have $100,000, a 7% move is $7,000. That's a massive boost that happens while you sleep. But when you have $1,000, that same 7% move is a rounding error. The trap is thinking that because the results are small, the action is small. But it's the opposite. Saving that first $1,000 requires 100% of your discipline, whereas the millionaire's next $1,000 requires 0% of theirs. You are doing all the work with none of the rewards. You're pouring water into a bucket that feels like it has a hole in the bottom. But here's the secret. You aren't just saving money right now. You are purchasing the habit of being wealthy. If you can't manage the discipline to save $100 when you have nothing, you will never have the discipline to manage $100,000 when you get there. The scraping phase isn't about the $70 in interest. It's about proving to yourself that you are the type of person who can build a foundation. Here is a brutal truth that wealthy people often forget. Being broke is expensive. I don't just mean the late fees on your bills or the overdraft charges from your bank, although those are painful. I'm talking about the invisible tax that drains your energy and your intelligence before you even get out of bed. Psychologists call this cognitive bandwidth. Imagine your brain is a computer with 100% processing power. When you have $0 to your name, 40% of that processing power is constantly running a background program called survival mode. You are constantly calculating, can I afford gas? What if the car breaks down? Did I pay the electric bill? You are trying to navigate your career and your investments with only 60% of your brain available. This is why people in the pre-$10,000 zone often make short-term mistakes. They buy the cheap boots that fall apart in 3 months because they can't afford the quality boots that last 10 years. They take the first job offer they get because they are desperate instead of negotiating for the salary they deserve. This is the scarcity trap. When you are under $10,000, you are walking a tightrope without a safety net. Every gust of wind, a medical bill, a flat tire, a rent hike feels like a life or death situation. Your body is flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone, and biologically, you cannot think about compound interest or 10-year horizons when your brain is screaming that the house is on fire. This is why the first $10,000 is the hardest. You aren't just fighting the market, you are fighting your own biology. But here is the good news. Money is the cure for this anxiety. The moment you hit $10,000 in liquid savings, that background program shuts off. You get your bandwidth back. Suddenly, a $500 car repair is just an annoyance, not a catastrophe. You sleep better. You negotiate better. You perform better at work because you aren't terrified of being fired. Reaching $10,000 doesn't just buy you assets, it buys you your IQ back. If you search how to save money on YouTube right now, 99% of the videos will yell at you about one specific thing, your morning coffee. They'll say, if you just stop buying that $5 latte every day, you'll be a millionaire. It's the favorite line of every financial guru. And sure, the math technically works on a spreadsheet. If you save $5 a day, that's $150 a month. But let's look at the reality of the pre-$10,000 journey. If you are starting from zero and your only strategy is cutting out coffee, it will take you 66 months. That's 5.5 years just to save your first $10,000. And that is assuming you never slip up, never have a birthday, and inflation doesn't exist. 5 years is too long to wait for a safety net. This is the defense trap. Most people stay poor because they are obsessed with playing defense. They spend hours clipping coupons to save 50 cents on pasta, or they drive across town to save $2 on gas. They are operating with a scarcity mindset. They are trying to squeeze juice out of a rock. The brutal truth about the first $10,000 is that you cannot save your way there if your income is the bottleneck. There is a floor to how much you can cut. You have to eat. You have to live somewhere. You can cut your expenses to the bone, be miserable, and still only save $200 a month. At that rate, the journey is just too painful and you will quit. So does this mean you should go blow your money on Starbucks? No. It means you need to stop obsessing over the $5 decisions and start looking for the $500 decisions. You don't need a sharper pair of scissors to cut your budget. You need a bigger shovel to fill the hole. We need to switch from defense to offense, because while there is a limit to how much you can save, there is no limit to how much you can earn. And in the race to $10,000, a $500 side hustle beats a lifetime of skipped lattes every single time. Okay, so we dropped the tiny scissors and picked up the shovel. Now, how do we use it? Most people look at the goal of $10,000 and think, I need to invest better. They spend hours researching crypto, looking for the next 100 times gem, or trying to time the stock market. But here is the math that nobody talks about. If you have $1,000 invested and you are a genius trader who makes a 20% return, which is Warren Buffett level, you've made $200. If you have $0 invested, but you mow 4 lawns on a Saturday, you've made $200. One requires luck, massive risk, and genius level skill. The other requires a lawnmower and sweat. To hit your first $10,000, you need to use micro leverage. You don't need to start the next Amazon. You don't need to quit your job. You just need to find one specific skill that the market will pay for right now. Let's look at the timeline. If you save $150 a month from your salary, it takes 5.5 years to hit $10,000. But if you learn to edit videos, walk dogs, flip furniture, or tutor English online, and you generate just $500 extra a month, suddenly you are saving $650 a month. Do you know how long it takes to hit $10,000 saving $650 a month? 15 months. You just compress 5 years of pain into 1 year of hustle. That is the power of offense. The problem is, most people undervalue what they can do. You think, I don't have any skills. But in the gig economy, reliability is the skill. Showing up on time is a skill. Being able to organize a spreadsheet is a skill. During this phase, you must view your time as your primary asset. You are trading time for money, yes. And I know, passive income is the dream, but you cannot build a passive income machine without active income fuel. You have to grind now so you can glide later. Stop looking for a better stock ticker. Look for a better Saturday afternoon gig. That is how you cheat the timeline. We have the income flowing. Now we have to talk about the biggest threat to your first $10,000. It's not the stock market crashing. It's not inflation. It's you. When you are in the scraping phase, every time you look at your bank account, you will be tempted. You'll see $2,000 sitting there, and your brain will whisper, hey, we've been working so hard. We deserve a vacation. We deserve that upgrade. Or worse, an emergency happens. And because that money is accessible, you drain the account. The reason most people never pass $5,000 is that they rely on willpower. They try to make the right choice every single month. But studies show that willpower is a battery. By the end of the day, it's empty. If you have to decide to save money every month, eventually you will decide not to. You need to build a psychological firewall. This is different from just automating your savings. This is about hiding the money from yourself. Treat your savings like a tax. When the government takes taxes out of your paycheck, you don't stress about it. Why? Because you never saw the money in your account. It was gone before you could touch it. You need to do the same. Set up an automatic transfer for the day after your payday. Move it to a separate bank. Don't get a debit card for that account. Delete the app from your phone. Make the money painful to access. If it takes you 3 days to transfer the money back to your checking account, you won't use it for impulse buys. You will only use it for real emergencies. This firewall allows you to be consistent without being disciplined. As we said in our previous videos, consistency beats intensity. You don't need to be strong every day. You just need to be smart once. When you build this wall, you stop negotiating with yourself. You aren't trying to save. You just are saving. And that is how the bamboo tree finally breaks through the ground. Let's go back to that fire we were trying to start in the rain. You spent months, maybe years, shielding that tiny spark. You fought the wind, you fought the damp wood, and you fought your own urge to give up. But then, something happens. The wood dries out, the heat builds up, and suddenly, the fire catches. It starts to burn on its own. You don't have to blow on it every second anymore. You can step back and warm your hands. That is the moment you hit $10,000. Is $10,000 enough to retire? No. Is it enough to buy a Lamborghini? Definitely not. But it is the most important checkmark in your financial life because it is the proof of concept. When you cross this line, 3 things happen instantly. First, the survival mode anxiety vanishes. You have a shield. Second, the math starts to wake up. A 10% year is now a $1,000 gain. That's a tangible amount of money. And third, you have proven to yourself that you are not just a consumer anymore. You are a builder. The journey from $0 to $10,000 is a battle against gravity. It feels like pushing a car with the handbrake on. But once you cross this line, the handbrake comes off. The road to $100,000 is still long, but the car is finally rolling. So if you are in the scraping phase right now, if you are looking at a balance of $300 and feeling hopeless, do not stop. You are in the hardest part of the curve. The math is supposed to look bad right now. That is normal. Keep the overhead low. Keep the income growing. Build that psychological firewall. The first $10,000 is the price of admission to the game of wealth. Pay the price, because once you are in, the game gets a whole lot more fun. I want to leave you with one final thought. There is a version of you 5 years from now who is looking back at today. That version of you has the $10,000 safety net. They have the $100,000 portfolio. They are sleeping peacefully at night because they aren't worried about bills. They are grateful that you decided to do the hard work today. They are grateful that you didn't buy the coffee, that you worked the extra hours, and that you built the firewall. Be the person your future self will thank. If this video gave you a realistic roadmap, not just a dream, but a plan, please hit that like button. It tells YouTube that we care about the truth, not just the hype. And if you are new here and you want to join a community of people who are actually building wealth, hit subscribe. We are building this together. Now, once you conquer this first $10,000, the rules of the game change again. The gravity flips. To see exactly what happens in the next stage of your journey, you need to watch this video right here. It's the sequel to your success. I'll see you there.